before COVID hit, we had serious issues in that community. So throw in an 18-month, lockdowns, restrictions, isolation, taking all resources away from these children. Them children didn't just get put into lockdowns. They got their activities, their sports, their friendships, all ripped from under their feet. When we, as an adult, need to speak to a doctor or a counsellor or psychiatrist, we make a phone call and we could be put on a waiting list for 6 weeks or 6 months. These young people don't have, we cannot be turning around to them and saying, come back in 6 weeks for an appointment. We need a full-time centre, because I firmly believe what is coming now is a bigger risk to our young people than what we've just experienced in the last 18 months. Over the last 6 months, we've had the privilege to, get the charitable status and go into the community and start to give back, because we don't want to be a charity that is just take. I'm not singling out any elected representative singly. I'm simply saying, over the last 18 months, we have failed. We have failed to put the right resources in place for these young people. And I challenge any of them, if they think I'm wrong. I ain't prepared to sit back any longer and wait on the people that should be doing their job to do their job, because we potentially run the risk of losing a young person.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Emergency Podcast. Today we are talking about mental health and problems associated with it in Northern Ireland here. So I just wanted to start off by saying, we know we're in the middle of a so-called pandemic. We talk about things on the surface. We don't really get to things under the surface. So today we're going to dig a little deeper, and we're going to try and explore some of the things, some of the happenings in our society that are under the surface. And we're very privileged here today to be joined by my friend Paul Lavery. Paul is working out of Newcastle Co.Down, Northern Ireland, and Paul runs a group called Newcastle Community Outreach. So, Paul, welcome to the broadcast. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this, what the story was before you launched NCO?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Russell.
Welcome.
How I got into it was personal experience. I suffer from mental health, alcohol and drug addiction most of my life. And, so I had my own journey, my own 25 years plus of living and dealing with mental health. So obviously I came with a lot of, a lot of issues, a lot of issues that these young people in the communities would be dealing with today. So that's how I got into it, through lived experiences. Majorly it was lived experiences, and so for me it was really just about getting in and trying to put something in place that wasn't there for me.
Yeah, making a difference. You see a problem, you want to make a difference. What do I do about it? So what age are you now, and when did you sort of start having problems?
I'm 43 now, but I started suffering mental health issues right at maybe 11 years of age.
Okay. So family problems, schooling problems, societal problems, all the pressure of everything was too much, and you went off on a tangent, and that was your story.
Yeah, I remember from a very young age, my mum and dad would have always says, there's a want in you, so right from a very, very young age I was acting and rebelling and always running from life, and they seen at a very, very young age that there was something wrong for me, and obviously I couldn't see it. I think most people that do suffer mental health issues have trauma in their life, and for me it came from trauma, from different things, but from the ages of, I say suffering from mental health in around the age of 11, but I believe it started maybe a few years beforehand.
Okay. So how did Newcastle Community Outreach actually form? How did that come about? Did you decided that you'd come through this journey and you'd perhaps started to feel that maybe you could turn around and reach and help some other people, some teens and younger people and what they were going through? So how did NCO actually form?
It formed through, I started volunteering with the YMCA about 5 years ago. you know, and I instantly fell in love with it. I instantly fell in love with working with these young people, you know, and primarily the young people that I would work with came from backgrounds where alcohol and drug addiction was rife in their lives, you know, and for me, you know, I identified, I could identify with those young people because at one stage I was that young person. So getting that opportunity to work with the young people, I fell in love with it, and from then I had an experience, you know, with a young person in the community, and we lost a young person in the community, and you know, the whole dynamics of that situation, I made a promise to myself that I would do whatever I could do to make sure the resources and a centre was in place so that what happened to that young person, you know, couldn't happen again. You know, the reality of it was we had a young person that had his own issues in life, and he reached out for help, and in that 1 hour of reaching out, no one was available. So that situation disturbed me. It really hurt me on a personal level because I felt a wee bit responsible. You know, I was out of town dealing with a situation, and you know, I told the young person, look, get over to there, somebody will be with you, and wait till I come back. In that 1 hour, that young person never opened that message. And I got back down the road, and sadly, he had taken his life. And from that, I made a promise that no matter what it took, no matter what commitment levels, no matter what I had to do, is that I would do whatever I could do to put a full-time centre in Newcastle and the surrounding area for the young people.
Well done you for doing that. I think in my experience, a lot of people, when they get on a path of trying to make a difference, it does come out of some sort of personal experience in their past. It's some sort of trauma, it's some sort of event that happens, you know, that makes them think, yeah, I could actually do something about this. I want to do something about this. I can see other people, maybe a bit like myself, maybe not, but I can see myself in them and I want to help them. You know, so well done for doing that. That's brilliant. How do people sort of find out more about NCO? Where do they go? How can they help? What can they do to help you?
We have a website, www.newcastlecommunityoutreach.com, and we're also on Facebook. We're in the process of going on the Instagram as well. As we all know, young people, social media is their platform. You know, that's where they communicate with each other. So, you know, in December, we launched our own website with an app attached to it for the kids, for the young people in the community. And for us, what we wanted to do was put a service in place for brief interventions. Obviously with different experiences with these young people, and you know, I'm going to use it, you know, when we as an adult need to speak to a doctor or a counsellor or psychiatrist, we make a phone call and we could be put on a waiting list for a week. We could be put on a waiting list for 6 weeks or 6 months. And the reasoning behind the website and the live chat room and for the brief interventions was, in that 1 hour, these young people don't have, you know, we cannot be turning around to them and saying, come back in 6 weeks for an appointment. So we launched the website with an instant chat room where one of our team could take them online within 2 to 3 minutes if they were, you know, in danger of any risk or harm to themselves. And we believe that we've eliminated the risk factor of immediate danger. Yeah. So we can be contacted either on any social media platform at this minute in time.
Within 3 minutes, as you say?
In 3 minutes, you know, from when you click onto our website, it automatically, you know, directs one of the team. One of the team will then go into the chat. We can automatically take that young person on the virtual screen, you know, and deal with the situation. See, when they come on then our team in the background can automatically start working any policy and procedures in the background. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for me, you know, eliminating risk, you know, was very, very important for not just these young people, but for the people that are actually working with the young people. Yes. So, you know, when you think about it in today's society, when you can turn around to a young person or even an adult who is at risk of harming themselves, who's going through a moment where they feel that they want it. having a service like that available, where you can get them online and just take them away from that moment. You know, in my opinion, it does save lives. You know, it does save lives, and it impacts. You know, and from we launch, it has been active, and we have recently had situations where we've had the acting deal. So, you know, for me, it's game changing. For me, it is. Again, I can't stress this enough. It is a lifesaver when it comes to dealing with eliminating risks to our young people.
Good. What about the number of people that you have on your team? Are there any plans to expand? What kind of qualifications do they need to be on the team? You get these problems coming in, and you deal with them very quickly, and that's incredible. Sometimes there has to be, I'm guessing, like a sort of a more medium to long-term approach. You've brought them in, you've prevented this harm. Now where do you pass them? How are you finding that you're passing these, not passing the problems, but you're helping these youngsters find a more medium to long-term solution? What other groups are you working with to sort of get help?
I think, you know, it's very important that when we've been up and running 3.5 years, and I will say this here, when I started this, we went to our local papers with an idea. We went to the community, and we spent 2 years setting this organisation up. We started with one thought, and it was to put a service in place for these kids. Little did we know that it would take, you know, we near enough 2 years through getting a committee together, getting a team together, getting constituted, getting all our policies, procedures in place, because what was very important, we were not going to allow this to be a pilot scheme for anybody. What we were building was going to be a generational program, and this would still stand in 25 years' time when most of us weren't around it. So that's why we spent 2 years setting up, you know. And you know, when I look back at it now, it was a massive undertaking, but we done that with, you know, a team of volunteers, and you know, we then, you know, once we had just finished the setup process and we had, you know, got to the stages where we were engaging with the council and the education board and the trust, and along comes the pandemic, you know, depending on who you ask. But along comes it, and most organisations or groups or whatever, you know, we're struggling, you know. For NCO and the team of people in the background, we had reached the stage where, right, we had all this work done. We were looking at a centre, ready to move, look at fundraising, and then COVID came, and everything got pulled, you know. And we were looking at each other, thinking, right, what now? You know.
Yeah, and that is the part that I think a lot of people look at and say, that shouldn't have happened. Everybody in the know who knows about the whole COVID scam knows that there's underlying problems that are being caused by it that aren't being addressed. That accountability, you know, that some people will be held to account as we go forward for that because of the harm they're causing either directly or indirectly. And what we're talking about now is possibly very direct harm and sometimes very indirect harm. So going forward, what's your plans for expansion, and how can anybody help you with expansion, whether it be, you know, like you have Samaritans where you have people phone up saying, I want to be a Samaritan, I want to be on the phone, I want to be answering, I want to be helping people. Is that something you can do going forward? Can you add to your team? Can you expand from County Down? Can you expand further afield? And what do you need to do that?
I think what's important now, you know, we'll say that when COVID did hit and the first lockdown came, our team didn't stop, you know.
Good.
We actually achieved charitable status during the second lockdown.
Very good.
You know, we were faced with that issue. Is, what do we do now? You know, and at one stage, NCO were putting out food donations into the community, and, you know, just constant training, support, and supervision. You know, looking after the team, which I pride myself on. The whole team, you know, we did not want to cut corners. You know, so as for the team and what we're doing now and what our plans are, we've just invested 3.5 years into this. Right up until now, we're 3.5 years deep into this here. So that's a pilot scheme for most government bodies to put funding in place to, you know, to have a wee trial. You know, for us, we haven't even started. You know, for us, it's what now? We need a full-time centre in Newcastle.
So what do you need in order to do that? Is it primarily money?
Its bottom line is, you know, we cut to the chase a long time ago when it comes to what do NCO need, what do that community need. And it's very simple, I've spent this last 2 years. I live in the centre of town, and I have the privilege of living in a lovely wee spot where I see the main street on the beach in front of me, and I see these young people coming, and before COVID hit, we had serious issues in that community, and the issues were there. So throw in an 18-month, lockdowns, restrictions, isolation, taking all resources away from these children. Them children didn't just get put into lockdowns. They got their activities, their sports, their activities, their support groups, their friendships, all ripped from under their feet. And with all due respect, I respect what people have done around COVID, and that's their thing. But I have said, with a helpline, with other things going on, watching these children, this last 18 months, get distraught, torn to shreds. Their mental health just deteriorate, So I would be looking at, we need a full-time centre, because I firmly believe what is coming now is a bigger risk to our young people than what we've just experienced in the last 18 months.
Mm-hmm. So a full-time centre, any idea at all how much that's going to cost?
We are looking at a building at the minute. It's no building, but bottom line is we've made the decision as of last week, but we'll finalise it on Wednesday. We need to go out and raise £30,000 to get the doors open and cover the rent and running costs for the first 2 years. That will allow the team that are involved to grow, to bring more people on board, but most importantly, getting over the door, getting in, getting the kids in off the streets, giving them their activities, giving them their services. It will give us time then to actually properly sit down with the people that should be dealing with us here. And the people that should be dealing with us here are elected representatives.
Absolutely, yep.
So for NCO, we look to, right, what do we do now? We've done, this came with one thought, and we went and seen a couple of guys from different networks and different organisations, and they asked us one thing: go get a team, show us how serious you are.
So how many's in the team now, would you say? Half a dozen, a dozen?
At the minute there's about
12, okay. Just coming back on this, I want to dig into this a wee bit here, Paul, because people are going to be looking at this all over the world, and they're going to be saying, I'm behind them, I want to give. How do they give to you? Is it PayPal? Is it GoFundMe? Is it just giving? Is it a bank account? How do they give to you?
Well, we can take donations, and it is through PayPal. We have a link set up through our website, and so it's just a click and pay for anybody that wants to donate.
So basically, anyone watching this who says, yeah, touch the nerve here, I want to give, they go on to newcastlecommunityoutreach.co.uk and they look for the giving section, and if they want to give, and it takes them to PayPal.
Directly straight to it.
Right. So I'm gonna say this again. Anybody who's watching this now, and anybody who's listening to this under the sound of my voice, please do what you can. This is important. This is a serious matter. Give out of your supply. Give what you can, but give it now, because the work that Paul is doing with this is absolutely phenomenal. And I would say within a very short period of time, you're going to get that 30,000. I'm reasonably confident in that. So we're reaching out to all of our watchers and listeners and say, give.
Yeah, I think as well, it's important, for anybody watching this, we are run totally by volunteers. There is no wages going out. There's no wages going out, What this team of people have sacrificed for the last 3.5 years was solely to give a community, give a set of young people in that community something that was theirs. This for me is a selfless act. A selfless act by committed people that have made sacrifices for the last 3.5 years, not for themselves, not for a pat on the back, not for, oh, look at me. This is simply something that has been done with love for a community that has really needed it, so I think it's important, whilst this last, 18 months and what's been going on around the world, there's been lots of negatives, lots and lots of negatives, but for me and for that organisation and what they are doing, the positives far outweigh the negatives of what's been going on. It's like when I spoke to somebody, recently, and they found out we were actually a registered charity, and they're like, how do you even do that during a pandemic? And I was like, listen, all I know is that my team didn't stop. We did not take our feet off the gas. We kept moving forward. We kept striving towards the next goal, the next target. And over the last 6 months, we've had the privilege to get the charitable status and go into the community and start to give back, because we don't want to be a charity that is just take. That's not what it's about for us. We believe we can deliver on what we're doing in the community, but also give back into the community. And I must say, I come from a very, very small town in Newcastle, and when I first came up with the idea of what I wanted to do, I was very, very reluctant, because I did not hide away from my background and where I came from through my own problems growing up as a young person. But I caused a lot of trauma in that community as a child, as a young person, and this always drives me. It always motivates me. For me, I reached a stage in my life where I got myself together and I got everything in order around me, and I got a chance to give back into a town, into a society where I took so much from, so getting the chance to talk to local people about actually what is going on, and for me, this is just about us all doing this together. No doubt in my mind, there's no doubt, none whatsoever, the work that we've done and are doing will not stop. But I believe that what is being done in the community and how these young people are being affected, we need accountability. It's like if you or I or someone goes to work, we are held accountable on a daily basis for our work. We are held accountable, and I'm not singling out any one person. I'm not singling out any elected representative singly. I'm simply saying, over the last 18 months, we have failed. We have failed to put the right resources in place for these young people, and I challenge any of them if they think I'm wrong.
Who have you met with in regards to these people who should have been accountable? Have you met with local representative, councillors, MLAs? Who have you met with that you said, look, hey, we've got a problem here, we need to be addressing this now? And who are these people, and have they been helping you at all?
Look, right up until that first lockdown came, we had worked away in this situation where we had sat down with statutory agencies. And, if anybody's engaged with these situations before, there's a lot of work that goes into this here. And but for me personally, talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. I ain't prepared to sit back any longer and wait on the people that should be doing their job to do their job, because we potentially run the risk of losing a young person.
Yeah, but what I'm saying there, Paul, is who, if anybody, should we be now talking to, whether it's directly from NCO or from us or from other people watching this, to say, yes, I want to contact my elected representative in the County Down area, I want to contact this person, I want to ask them what's happening. Where can we apply pressure to these people? Because a lot of these people are paid a lot of money to do a job to protect their communities, and if they're failing, we need to hold them to account.
Absolutely. Look, here's the thing, I know elected representatives, and they have failed. They have failed, in my opinion. And that is not NCO's opinion, that is my opinion. So for me, accountability has to come from the top. And it will be our plans, our objectives to go to Stormont and to seek a meeting with the ministers if they're in office. Because I believe that in order to deal with situations like this here, you have to deal with it right from the top. Mm-hmm. So we've reached the stage where we will be writing to our ministers, to the Children's Commissioner, to seek a meeting to look at actually what is going on in the ground.
Okay. So there's obviously a lot going on in the background. You're obviously incredibly busy. I'm just trying to ascertain where your help as you expand and get busier, because I do believe you're going to get busier, and that's the tragedy of what we're going through. I don't think this is a situation that's going to tail off. I think it's going to get worse because of what we've been going through for the last 2 years. I think there is an underlying issue that hasn't bubbled to the surface yet. And I think you're starting to see that in the first 24 months, but I think it's going to get worse. Yeah. That's just my opinion. But if it does, got to get ready for that. That's why I'm talking about expansion. How many people have you got in your group? Where are you expanding to? What are the other groups that can help you? So there are going to be people listening to this that say, yeah, I could actually do something there. So is there a main telephone number that people can phone you on, or just...
You can follow on to our link. All our details, telephone numbers, email addresses are there. What I would say is we are always looking for volunteers, we are thin on the ground, What I would say as well is that, we had our first day, our AGM last month, to set about new goals and targets and deal with, last year's business regarding what NCO had actually done and achieved, and we have identified, a few things that we need to do, and that is bring more people on board to help support and assist. Because whilst we are there dedicated doing what we're doing, we cannot do it all. Okay,
that reach out to potential volunteers. Do these people need to live in the Newcastle area? Can they be anywhere at the end of a phone line? Because there might be somebody watching in Southampton, for example, that says, yeah, I can actually do that.
They can come from anywhere.
Anywhere at all.
If they want to get involved with Newcastle Community Outreach, and it can be anything to do with social media, it can be anything to do with phone lines, it can be anything to do with training, support, supervision, outreach work, it doesn't matter, management committee. If you want to get involved, just drop us an email or a call, and we can take it from there.
Okay. And everything that person needs to know is on that website. Telephone numbers, email addresses, contact, social media, everything's on there. NewcastleCommunityOutreach.co.uk. Okay. Is there anything else that's going on that you would like to make people aware of? We mentioned before we started this that there's going to be some negatives, there's some problems. What about the positives? Can you tell us any, without giving any names or anything? Can you tell us some positives? What's happening
within Newcastle Community Outreach? Yeah. No. Listen. Here's the thing, right? Obviously, we've been dealing with a lot of negative stuff over this last couple of years, but there is success stories. I think one of the things that I took from the third lockdown there was we had a lot of young people coming to us that had never worked a day in their life, never been given an opportunity, and NCO went and spoke to local businesses, and as a result of going and speaking to them, we got, I think it was 9 young people within the community, their first ever job, and
yes.
And here's the thing, when I was meeting with these young people and meeting with the business owners, these are characters, these are loving wee characters, and they're good crack and they're boisterous, and I was talking with a few of them, so we went and set up the interviews, and they got their job starts. One was fired within 24 hours, and the rest...
You can't win them all.
No, you can't win them all, but here's the thing. That young person was given an opportunity.
Yes.
That young person was given an opportunity for the first time in his life.
Yes.
And he might have been fired from that job, but that young person is doing pretty well right now, so he is,
So he was just a round peg in a square hole. That didn't work for him, but the next thing will. And you keep on keeping on.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of all them young people that got the wee job starts, I think one's on the apprentice now, doing pretty well. It didn't work out for the others, but for us it's all about giving these young people a voice. It's about trying to empower them and giving them some form of belief is that you can go out there, do and achieve anything you want in your life. And for me, it's about giving them that opportunity. Somebody took that time and gave me that opportunity myself, so I know how important that is, to be given an opportunity.
Yeah, well, that's going to touch a lot of people's hearts and minds, with everything you're saying. So I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you're doing. It means such a lot. And I know that other people are going to want to contact you and support you. So, Paul, thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for everything you're doing. And I want to shake your hand before we finish. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, just as a last thing before we finally wrap up, Paul has contacted a number of businesses in the Newcastle area, and you will find these charity tubs, around 20 or so businesses, and that's growing, and also QR codes on the window with Newcastle Community Outreach. If you're aware of them, and if you see them going around and you want to hold your phone up and get the QR code and give, find more information, you'll find them dotted around all around Newcastle now. So I just wanted to add that in as a footnote, so that if you are happening to wander around Newcastle on your travels, whether it's now or in the summer or whatever, look out for these charitable boxes with Newcastle Community Outreach on them. Look out for the logo and the QR code, and please give as much as you can when you can. Thank you. Watch and listen for free on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also follow us on Telegram and Facebook for more information.